Hi there. Okay, the question is, what do I mean when I say God is the ultimate nervous system regulator? I realize, well, first of all, I should say that is something that I say. So that's important. I may have said that in a previous video. I can't remember for sure. And I want to make this kind of quick, and I might do a follow-up video where I talk more about how I do this, but it's less of the idea of like God or a being or something coming in and just like fixing me up. It's a process. It is a regulation process that I have been going through for the last 5 years. Sometimes I'm aware that I'm working on it, and sometimes it feels like it's being worked on behind the scenes. And it really comes from a place of surrender, which is not easy. I am very aware that surrendering our thoughts, our belief systems, our problems as we see them showing up in the world around us, or maybe internal problems, it can be really hard to surrender those and hand them over to God. But what I mean is really a surrender and a trust process that comes the more you allow yourself to move into this flow of God and witness as you surrender, as you trust, as you release, witness how these perceived problems or internal stories or thought systems tend to work themselves out on their own. It's not always pretty, but they will be worked out, and oftentimes they're worked out in ways better than you could have ever imagined when you were stuck in your mind spinning and trying to figure out how you were going to get this problem fixed or this decision made, or, figure out what your next steps were for your life and your relationships or anything like that, which can all get you stuck and sort of spinning and unable to really find a place that land that feels good in your body, which is why the anxiety tends to recur and come back, because we're only relying on ourselves and our brain, which is always just making its best guess as to what the heck is actually going on. We're only relying on that. And that keeps us in resistance and out of this sort of natural flow. So I can think of God in many different ways, but one way that I experience God as a human in this physical body, having one singular perspective, is, as we are in space and time, we perceive our lives as moving, as if we are moving through space and time from a singular perspective. So from this perspective, I often experience God in that movement. And in that movement, there is a natural flow to things. And when we allow ourselves to be naturally in that flow, you could think of that as aligning your will with God's will. So instead of using my will to fight and predict and prepare and imagine worst case scenario kind of things, if I can use my will, my personal will, to surrender and hand things over to God and open myself and allow myself to receive more expansive, higher guidance, higher intelligence, wisdom, knowledge coming in, I can give my nervous system a break. And this might not be easy right at first, because it goes against everything we're sort of programmed to believe about how to live in this world and what we need to do. And so it can feel like you're moving against that. And there's not a lot of people who are living this way. And so it can also be sort of a lonely process, because you're kind of flipping the way that you experience the world, the way that you experience God. And so for me, again, it's it's less of a quick fix, and it's more of an allowance to move your will in alignment with the will of God, the flow of God, which is how it can be experienced while we're experiencing life in this sort of more linear fashion. So that's kind of more practical, less woo-woo, maybe a little bit more helpful way to think about it. And I might make another video in the future about what that actually can look like and feel like on a day-to-day basis, because it really is a new way to live. And through the work of sort of reversing and moving into that way of living, I have felt the most relief in my body. And after a period of it being quite difficult, it becomes actually quite easy to live in this state, which is such a relief. And it's something that I wish for everybody, because this is the way the world was created to be lived in, not the way that we've been doing it. That makes us so sick and uncomfortable and unhappy. And frankly, sometimes wanting to not be here. It's pretty nice living here once you've learned how to move with the flow. So I just wanted to hop on, talk that out. It's been spinning around in my head for a minute, so it's been good to get it out. And until next time, thanks. Bye.